Hola amigos, qué gusto saludarlos desde el autódromo de Charlotte Motor Speedway. Marco Barbadera y Brian Delp. Tonight live here on Apex Racing TV. Welcome to the SKR Racing League. And we are here with GTs running around the beautiful Charlotte Motor Speedway. This is of course very familiar to anyone who knows a bit of motorsport, as we have just seen this situation just a few days ago in real life. Hello Brian, welcome, and safe to say that if this race is like the one we had in real life, is going to be very entertaining, of course, minus the rain.
Yeah, I honestly wish we had rain on iRacing because I feel like that'd make this race so much even more entertaining. But as most people know, Charlotte Roval is a newer rendition of the Charlotte Motor Speedway that it really came to be about I think actually 3 years ago now. And so it's one of those things that people have just really taken to. And as we've got to see more and more people come over here, we got to see IndyCar test here, and now we got to see IMSA racing here. So it's really just a testament to what Charlotte has done to continue to bring more racing to Charlotte. So just a kudos to them, and I think we're going to be in for an exciting race tonight.
We absolutely are. As you can see, we are just about in the middle of the qualifying session here in Charlotte. Now, as you can see, there is a lot of drivers coming from the Latin American region of iRacing. It's beautiful to be able to cover a championship full of drivers from South America, continent which I have a special connection to, as I was telling you behind the scenes, of course. And yeah, so you will hear some interesting names tonight that maybe were not very common on a broadcast, and we love it. I mean, and especially when it's like this, you have the chance to see these drivers race that you normally don't get into, your traditional strength of field, run of the mill races. So. Certainly a lot of unknowns for us, I would say, but I'm quite sure that we are going to get to know these drivers better and better as the weeks go by, because we are going to be here every Thursday night, or if you are watching from Europe, just like me, Friday mornings.
Yeah, and for those watching in the North or South America, this is a pretty good time for us. It's one of those later night for those over on the East Coast, but those on the West Coast, this is a really good time for you. So it's one of those time zones you really don't get to see a ton of, but we're going to get to see some really good racing here, and it's a road racing, which you normally really don't get to see at these times. This is usually when you get the oval stuff. But so it's going to be really exciting. I do want to apologize ahead of time for butchering any of these names, but I just can't wait to see the action that we're going to get to see.
So right now, let's just have a little look at the qualifying standings after, let's say, at the halfway mark. Juan Rivera Sprea is leading the way in front of Juan Carlos Pujol in the Corvette, the new car. Freddy Yempen is in third, there he is, in the BMW. Mauricio Otero is in fourth, and Ignacio Chirinos is sitting in fifth place. Miguel Lopez Torres is in sixth. Bruno Alcaraz is in seventh, as Aldo Seclen jumps into sixth place just as we speak with his BMW. So we have BMWs, we have Chevrolets, we have Porsches, and we have one Ferrari, Arisejas El Manati, sitting in 14th place right now, still not on the track, so we'll put a camera on him as soon as we can.
Yeah, are you kind of surprised here by the amount of Corvettes there actually is? There's only 3 in the field at the moment, and that's kind of the new toy that's really come to iRacing. I honestly thought we'd see a little bit more.
I agree with you. I was noticing that also in other broadcasts we did. Certainly, it looks like it's a car that, whilst very beautiful on the outside, and we know we have some of our colleagues who absolutely love this car, Brian. It's quite a unique car to drive, and I've tried it. It has a lot of understeer, which I like, but I know that not many drivers like to have understeer, so who knows, maybe it's because of this, maybe it's because some drivers still feel, you know, a bit too used, so to speak, to the other cars, like, you know, they know them better, so especially when you want to do a league and you want to win, as Dino Torcello goes into the top of the standings, you know, maybe these drivers are thinking, you know, I'll go with what I know, and here we go with Ari Sejas, number 18 in his beautiful red and black Ferrari. Look at that livery, absolutely stunning as he goes through the infield. No, we are racing in the... So this is, if I'm not mistaken, the newer version of the road course, so the one with the extra... no, not with the new chicane. But I will wait a second. I'm just watching Bruno Alcaraz come here. And yes, this is the new chicane, right?
Yes, I believe this is because they've widened the chicane from the first version that you had issues, and they also had a wall there on that other side. But I think in iRacing they just put up the turtles, but you don't see the turtles on the other side anymore, presenting a more wider exit out of that chicane there. So it's definitely the updated version there, allowing these guys to really pick up more speed heading onto the banking there of turn 3.
Look at Dino pushing super hard. This livery, I think he hit the wall there at the end, so lap invalidated. I was thinking to myself, this car looks like a Super GT car, you know, the Nissan Skyline, and it is. This is the Skyline livery adapted to the BMW. Absolutely fantastic. So Juan Rivas Brea is in second place right now. He is on a good lap. Green sector 2, purple sector 3. He's got his teammate in front of him. Let's jump on board and see, of course, massively important on this racetrack, Brian, the draft, especially because you end up doing most of the oval, basically, despite this being a road course.
Yeah, and you kind of saw it there. I think that was definitely a team tactic right there, because you saw the car in front pull off when they were coming up to that chicane, which just gave the opportunity for the car behind. So it's one of those things where you can kind of you can use each other to swap laps throughout here with this open qualifying format like this to really, you can help your entire team as much as you wanted to try to get the fastest laps. So they just can continue to swapping like that and using the cars as toes through those turns. And that's something you see a lot at like the bigger tracks, but I mean, it's just the same here at the Roval, where there aren't very many long straightaways, but those straightaways are usually in the corners here at this track. And so that's a NASCAR tactic that's kind of been adopted into the IMSA side of things here at the Roval.
So Juan Rivas will try to improve on his newly gained pole position time, 0.3 of a second in front of Dino Torcello, and Chirinos is in third. He is not going for a quick lap. Here comes Juan Rivas. Oh, the car in front of him blinking. It's so easy to hit the wall. I see these guys are really pushing their car hard. He gets a good lap, but it's not a valid... it's not an improvement. And here comes Dino Torcello trying to go for pole position once again. Juan Carlos Puyol is in fourth position, driver from Peru. And man, I can't wait to tell my best friend who's from Peru that there are not one, not two, not three, but 4 drivers from Peru in this series. And the little Spanish I know, and hopefully the pronunciation that I'm not going to butcher of their names, hopefully, it's because of him. And so, that's a first, I would say, all these Peruvian drivers. Dino Sassone comes to the start-finish line in the meantime, back on pole position. This is a fantastic duel, Brian, between Dino and Juan, and they seem to both have the pace to put their cars on pole.
Yeah, I think it really, at the moment, it's just a 2-horse race. We'll have to see what really plays out in the race, but I mean, based on the qualifying times at the moment, they are almost a full second. I mean, really close to both of them being a full second ahead of third place of Ignacio Chirinos. So it's really just these two. If they don't make a mistake, they could easily walk out of here with a 1-2 finish. It's just who's going to be that one that's on top because they both want to be there.
Cameras focusing on Juan Rivas, but his lap is nothing to speak of as he goes. Look how aggressive they are onto that final chicane. I don't think this is going to be an improvement, but improving is Miguel Lopez Torres. He jumps up to 5th place, immediately beaten by Aldo Seclen in the BMW, as we have a bit of a traffic jam here. And there's a spin, and there's a big crash. Hopefully everyone is okay. As they... You know, I'm still thinking about the water that we had in the infield last time around in NASCAR, for example. Oh dear! There's a slow Porsche, Rafael Benavides there. And creating a bit of chaos. Let's go to Rafael Ortiz from Puerto Rico. Jumps up into P19. Julio Del Carpio is the last driver on the timing tower from the United States of America. We have one driver without a valid lap time. Javier Paez is in 21st place as we are heading into the race session. As you can see here, just a couple of drivers left to set their fast time. Freddy Yempen is there, is the only one on a good lap, I would say. So let's follow him. P7, let's jump on board. On the start-finish line, ooh, fantastic lap from Freddy, jumps into 3rd. So it's a BMW 1, 2, 3, and 4, Brian. I'm a bit surprised about this, you know?
Yeah, I really thought we possibly would see a bigger mix in terms of the make of the car at the top, but you know, when guys are just really comfortable with cars, and we know the BMW has been out for a bit, and it was a well-liked car even before the Corvettes, so a lot of people running it, and I mean, I'm fairly sure, looking at based on who all is running it, it is the car that is run the most in the series right now. So it really, with them having all the practice they've had in it, and to get comfortable, these guys really are being able to lay down those times. The thing that's going to be really deciding, though, I think that you can run really fast, but these guys that are hitting the wall could be killing their cars, and we saw it happen multiple times throughout qualifying.
Here we go then, the starting grid from Charlotte Motor Speedway. We will have a rolling start, so let's go and give you the starting grid. 21 strong tonight here from Charlotte. So in pole position is Dino Torcello, in 2nd place is Juan Rivas, 3rd place for Freddy Yempen, 4th is Ignacio Chirinos, then 5th is Juan Puyo, 6th place for Aldo Seclen, and 7th is Miguel Lopez Torres, 8th place for Mauricio Otero, 9th is Bruno Alcaraz, 10th place for Gerardo Rodriguez, El Chispita from Mexico, 11th place for El Peruano Cristian Vizcarra, and 12th place for Juan Martinez from the beautiful country of Puerto Rico. Going forward, we have Rafael Benavides, Ari Sejas, El Manati, Maximiliano Moore in 15th, Aldo Macher in 16th place, Andre Petit in 17th, Daniel Primera is in 18th place, Rafael Ortiz is 19th, Julio Del Carpio is 20th, and 21st and last, but certainly not least, Javier Paez from Colombia. Beautiful grid from all over the, all over Northern, Central and South America. And now, of course, I mean, I love when the cars are starting like this in a racing. We don't see it too often, especially only on the newer ovals. So on the road side is basically only here. I think we have this. And here we go, rolling. And it's a very dangerous start, this one, you know? It's
Yeah,
very easy to...
the
Oh
first
dear!
time I ever lined up here to run this, when it first came out, I was in an Indy car, and I couldn't see the car to my left, and I just pulled. I thought he had pulled away, and I went to pull out, and here it turns out that half the front of the grid hadn't even moved yet. You just couldn't see. So you'll see some of these guys taking some really wide turns to get going here.
And we have Rafael Ortiz not starting. His car is stuck there. There we go. And the drivers are forming up behind the Porsche pace car. Getting ready to enter the middle portion of the infield. As you can see on the left side, the BMW dominating the timing sheet in qualifying. Let's see if it's going to be the same in the race. Everyone is now more or less into the pacing line. We are just missing a couple of drivers. There we go, they are joining right now. And now we go on the back. Let's get a look at the weather with 100 Fahrenheit on the racetrack. Not the coolest, you know, I'd say, temperature for the racetrack.
Yeah, it's definitely not the coolest, but it's not the warmest I've seen also. I've seen this thing all the way up to 115 maybe on track temps. So it's one of those overcast days, it seems like. So it's nothing going to be too bad for these guys. But I do think that the way they're throwing these cars around, it honestly could prove to look like it's a lot hotter than it is.
One thing that we do absolutely fantastic here on Apex Racing TV are the weather reports. We have some of the best weathermen in sim racing, I'd say. So, and you know, Brian of course is no exception. The trickiest part of the second trickiest part of this pace lap, the chicane, thankfully a bit wider. So, I mean, if you really want, you can go, you know, in you know, straight on. See, Rafael Ortiz was having a bit of an issue at the beginning of the pace lap. Now it has been solved, and now we are good to go for the start of the race. Of course, we are going to start in the chicane, which is absolutely terrible. But such are the limitations of technology in 2020. Pace car is in. And green flag is in the air, and already we have a massive wreck at the back. It's Juan Carlos Puyol, he's around.
That's one of the problems we talked about, just the limitations of technology. Of course, in real life, when they get a start like that, they don't actually go through the chicane. So on iRacing, it just proves kind of why they don't do that in real life. As you see, the cars just get so stacked up there that it's just really hard to not have a wreck on a restart.
Miguel Lopez gets past Freddy Yempen, who made a mistake, but leading the way, it's Dino Sassone. He comes around, and for the first time he enters into the NASCAR 1 and 2 turns, and then heading for the backstretch chicane, which will be one of the premium passing spots, I would say, together with the other chicane, but of course not the, let's say, safest passing spot around, and that wall really sticking out. So we'll see how the drivers will approach, but the good thing for Dino right now, Brian, I would say, is that he has taken you know, a bit of a gap over the rest of the field, and so he can you know, be safe. No one will attack him, at least this time around. Oh man, hard on the curb there was Dino. He completes the first lap in the lead.
Yeah, and I think we're going to see that a lot throughout here. Is just these guys are really riding that curb on that final chicane, and I think that's really what's kind of putting them into the wall, is how hard they're hitting that, and it's just causing them to slide. And I think that's something we're going to see throughout the race, unless these guys kind of start to adjust, because I'm really worried about these cars when they go out and hit that wall like we've seen them doing.
Oh dear!
Oh no, a big wreck again.
That's Gerardo Rodriguez.
Yeah, Rodriguez, it's just chaos all over this track. When you run through the infield like that, especially too wide, it becomes very difficult to not get tagged or to not tag someone because that track on the infield is actually really slick, and most people don't seem to think that about it because I mean it's a very small infield, but I mean your tires just slide throughout that entire infield, so it's something these guys will just have to continue to be careful with one another.
So I think in the end, Gerardo was very, very lucky there. He was able to, get away without major damage. Let's check in with Juan Carlos Puyol, spinning on that opening, well, not even the opening corner. As Bruno Alcaraz is heading for the pits. We are racing for 35 minutes, by the way, tonight. So effectively, a pit stop can really put you out of contention for good, Brian.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you kind of have to decide if your damage is just too bad. So it's if you think that you're going to lose more positions by going ahead and staying out on track with your damage compared to pitting, then pitting is definitely the better option. And with the chicanes kind of set up how they are here, you will lose time on pit road, but it's not going to be the huge amount that you actually think it would be. So that's one of the bonuses of the way this track is kind of configured.
Here we go with more on Benavides. I'm seeing a Peruvian flag on Benavides' right rear. So this should be a battle between compatriots. Whatever the case. Ooh, Benavides goes very deep on the brakes, and now here comes Martinez. Yeah, he has to lift a bit. I thought he would have a better run there, exiting, the chicane there, as we have a crash. And or maybe just a connection issue for Aldo. Let's see here. Oh yeah, connection issue. So I think he's still going strong. Yeah, there is.
Now, one thing that you kind of have to you'll see as they come through here is when you get up on the back of someone, and especially on the infield here, you really have to just kind of decide if you think the pass is worth it. Most of the time, a lot of people will actually just hang back. Or right here, you see him forcing it in there. That's another way to do it, is just poke it in there. But for the most part, you kind of sit back on the infield because it's very hard to really make a pass there. The passing zones, you want to set yourself up on the exit into the turns, because that's where you're going to be able to get the draft and really have your best chance of making that pass into the chicanes.
You see, Freddy Yempen went for the move on Vizcarra, couldn't make the move, and now all of a sudden Otero is all over the back of him.
Yeah, a failed pass here can be very damaging to you because...
Oh dear!
Oh!
That's Benavides, and that is Juan Carlos Puyol. It's not his night, unfortunately, this one. And completely, innocent victim in this crash. Let's see what happened to Benavides.
I apologize there to everybody. My fellow commentator here, Marco, decided to terrify me with all of a sudden a jump scare into the onboard of a wrecking car.
Okay, so there was another crash there at the front. Oh, and Benavides lost it trying to avoid it, and look at that. Massive wreck for Puyol, not his night.
Yeah, I mean, a Roval definitely presents a different wrecking than what you would normally see for these cars, because when you're on a road course, for the most part, you kind of get a feeling on where cars are going to go when they wreck, and you're able to really put yourself in a better position to miss it. Here on a Roval, when you're on the oval side of things, you have no idea what's going to happen, and that's kind of one of those different factors that you see here on this track compared to what you would call a traditional road course.
You are absolutely correct, and also, let's say that most of the infield also is not very... It is wide, but, there's not a lot of runoff, so it's very easy for the cars to bounce on the walls and then come back on the racetrack, so... certainly, this is the tricky part, I would say, of this racetrack. Also, I have to say, after New Hampshire, this is my favorite road course right now. In the as if we can say, Roval, so to speak, even though New Hampshire is a bit of a unique kind of racetrack, as Mauricio Otero goes past Freddy Yempen and up into 8th place. Let's check in with the leader after they go through the chicane, these two drivers here, because I want to see the lap time progression between the leader and the second place driver, Dino Torcello and Juan Rivas. So let's check it out. And as you can see, Dino Torcello is really pushing hard and gaining a little bit lap by lap, but gaining, and is, you know, these little by little gains, lap after lap, Brian, now accumulating to almost a 2-second lead over second place.
Yeah, and I mean, really, just if you're consistent here, you'll be able to really pick up that time also. So he's not having to really push at the moment. He can just consistently run his race, and he should be able to walk away with the win as long as there's no issues in front of him. But eventually, that lap traffic is going to come into play, and that's when things are really going to get interesting for him.
Here comes Secas on Rodriguez. They were side by side for a second, then I think the Mexican driver lifted a bit. Of course, it's Ari Secas that was lifting a bit. My apologies. In the Ferrari, the lone Ferrari on the field. And Rodriguez really created a big gap in the secondary part of the infield section. And now letting all those horses down as they head into the chicane from 6th gear down into 2nd. Clipping those curbs with care, I would say. And then basically you can cut almost all of the exit of the chicane. And we might have had an issue for Freddy Yempen. I think he had an adventure in the final chicane. So let's see. More than an adventure, you know.
Yeah, he got it. It's one of the common mistakes that you make here, and you see it a lot, just someone overcooking the chicane, because the chicanes here are really, really tight, especially the final chicane where you have to get slowed so much to be able to get that thing from left to right, and then going left again over the final little curb area and keeping it out of the wall. So you'll see it even right there. He got a lit in there very deep compared to what he probably wanted to. And so it just allowed Lopez Torres to kind of close in now and get that draft to possibly make something not happen in the chicane, but maybe turn 1 is probably the earliest he'd actually be able to get there.
Now, I hope it's not only me, but I've been noticing these past few weeks that when you are spectating someone with the Corvette on board, the car doesn't sound very normal. It sounds a bit stuttery. I don't know if you feel the same, Brian. It's almost like the gas pedal is not fully, pressed. I don't know. See? I don't know if you can hear it as well.
I do. This is my first time actually spectating the Corvette, but I definitely do hear what you're saying. If you listen to some of the other cars, the power feels like it's actually there when it's going, but it doesn't sound quite the same on the Corvette.
Listen to the BMW here. Oh, by the way, I removed the car logos accidentally, so there they are. By the way, you were speaking about lap traffic, so let's check in on the track map. Oops, it's a bit hidden by the logo, which we'll remove for a second. And there's the race leader, and he's about to get into some traffic. I think in front of him we have André Petit and Julio Del Carpio running in 18th and 17th respectively, so could be, Juan Rivas has 4/10 of a second out of the lead in the previous laps, so this race is certainly not over by any stretch of the imagination, in my opinion.
Yeah, and speaking of lap traffic about it, it's really the best places you want to catch lap traffic here are on the oval side of it, and in turn either 2 or in turn 3. That's really the best places to catch a lap traffic car, because if you catch him into the chicanes or going into the infield, there's really, with how tight it is, it's so hard to really get out of the way. So the leader then really has to just kind of sit back because there's nowhere for the lapped car to go at that point. So catching them at the wrong moment here can be especially damaging to a race lead.
Ari Sekas defending from Martinez as they go on to the banking of NASCAR 1 and 2. After all these seasons, still the Porsche sound one of the best in iRacing, if not the best. Very nice line from him there. So we have now 3 battles. This battle here, then we have this fight for 4th place between Chirinos and Lopez Torres, and also we have this fight here between Yempen and Moore for 8th place. But let's go back. Oh no, of course I picked the wrong battle because a mistake from Chirinos, and here we go. And also Martinez jumps past Seja, so it's all happening. And we have had a couple of overtakes. I want to see what happened there to Chirinos. I think he made a mistake. Let's see. Yeah, a bit wide there, Brian, and you know, finally, it's been a few laps that Lopez Torres has been in his clutches, but finally, you know, after all these laps, he has been able to make the move. At the same time, of course, Martinez went past Sekas, and so both battles were solved pretty quickly. Let's also give the viewers a comparison of the lap times here, and you can see clearly catching the leader is Juan Rivas.
Yeah, he's just slowly starting to reel him in here, and I mean, there must have been a mistake there by Torcello on lap 8, because I mean, he made up half a second in that lap alone. So, but we also see that there are a few where Torcello's barely gaining on any laps on Rivas Brea, so it's kind of one of those things. And again, I apologize if I butcher names here, but he's really just kind of giving up time at the moment. So you got to wonder if maybe he had caught some of that lap traffic on those laps, or because there are, as we see, there are a few cars now that are a lap down. Some of them are out of the race, some sitting on pit road. So you never really know what happened in front of him that could have caused that slowdown, or if he's just really, as the race progresses and the tires wear, he's starting to really lose some of that time.
Yeah, another 2.5 tenths, yeah. So you're absolutely correct, Brian. I'd say that, well, now the gap is in the danger zone, getting close to 1 second. Now, these cars don't have the biggest draft, I think, but 1 second is 1 second, and especially with you know, the big oval portion, we might see some drafting shenanigans as the laps go by. Martinez, Sejas, and Alcaraz. Three-way battle for 11th place. Martinez hasn't been able to pull away from the Ferrari, and the Corvette is joining the party. We are just missing a BMW. The closest one is Javier Paez, and he's sitting in 14th place, so a bit far away from the action.
You can hear it here with the tires, as we were talking about with this infield, and how you're sliding this car around because of how quick these right-handers are. Because once you hit on the infield, for the most part, it's all right-handers up until right here. Well, after turn 1, of course, and once you get down into most of the deeper part of the infield, it's all just right-handers until there. But you can hear the tires just squealing as you're really just sliding this car around, and that's the fastest way through here. If you worry about the tires too much and you're not sliding it, then you're going to be so much slower than these other cars. And we see him looking to the inside here of the chicane, and he's going to be able to get it, as you saw a lockup there from the car that was in front of Ari. And so him falling back now behind Bruno due to just a lockup, and a good move by Bruno into the chicane.
Yeah, of course. Good point that you just pro-tap is that these cars don't have ABS, so, you know, I mean, that was a brave move, but the lockup made it, dare I say, safer, if that's even, you know, something that one could say, because he was a bit behind, but, you know, he had the guts to go for it, and pass he did. Ooh, both drivers locking the brakes there, as Torcello is having some connection issues. Gap is, I think, 1.2 seconds, but really I think he's worrying a lot about his connection right now. And there is no worse feeling, I would say, for a driver, Brian. You know, you are leading the race, you see second place coming to catch you, and all of a sudden you have to worry not only about the car, the truck, and the driver coming from behind. You also have to worry about, you know, your connection making it all the way through the rest of the race.
Yeah, and that's always a terrifying thought because you have so much to worry about when you are the leader of a race. Especially, you got to worry about just running consistent laps and not making a mistake. You got to worry about how close that car behind you is getting. You got to worry about the cars in front of you, the lap down traffic, if they're going to get in your way, or if there's a wreck possibly in front of you. You have to worry about so much going on that when you add in connection issues where you're blinking in and out and the cars around you are blinking in and out, then it just makes things so much harder because then you just really, it distracts you from running your race.
Another lap in the books. Torcello 14 flat, Brea 14.2, so now back to gaining a bit is our race leader. In third place, there's Aldo, and the car behind him is a lapped car. Next in line is Miguel Lopez Torres. Ignacio Chirinos is in 5th place. Cristian Vizcarra, el Peruano, is in 6th place. Then we have Mauricio Otero, Freddy Yempen, Maximiliano Moore in a fight with Yempen, and then Gerardo Rodriguez is sitting in 10th place. Martinez is 11th in front of Bruno Alcaraz and Harry Sejas. 14th place for Javier Paez, Daniel Primera, as we have a pass here. Into the first corner, Moore goes and gets the spot over Yempen. So as I was saying, Daniel Primera is sitting in 16th, Adolfo Macher and Julio Del Carpio 16th and 17th. Basically the last two of the cars that are more or less on the lead lap, as we have a mistake here from Yempen, I would say. Or maybe not. Gerardo Rodriguez has made a mistake. No, he didn't make a mistake. I see his rear wing is a little bit bent. I don't know if it's the same for you, Brian.
Yes, it is. It might have been. Oh, there he is. He's off on the grass trying to make that pass there.
And he makes the pass. Oh dear.
We have a new pass in the grass here at Charlotte for everybody, of course. For those on the NASCAR side who know what I'm talking about. But yeah, it looked like Lempin was a little bit slow there, and just he was able to come up from behind and just pass him even through the grass. So I'm not sure if, yeah, he's coming in. He must be having some big issues going on with that car because he was really slow in the center of the track there. So I'm not exactly sure what was happening.
So into the pits he goes with less than 15 minutes to go in this race, as we have a spin for Vizcarra. He's around, Otero goes past, here comes Maxi Moore, but Vizcarra is comfortably ahead. So trouble for El Peruano. Let's see what happened to him. I suppose a mistake. Oh, the wall there. That wall is unforgiving.
Yeah, that's a very bad wall to hit. And then I was thinking it was maybe the transition, because sometimes that transition can really get people. Oh, and a big lockup there from Moore going into the chicane, and Vizcarra is just trying to get that car all the way back around.
I think it has been a Peruvian mess between Puyol, Vizcarra and Moore. Oh, Vizcarra. Oh, because Vizcarra has a suspension damage. Look at that. Oh! And he almost collected his fellow countryman there as Maximoru was trying to get past. That is, of course, Puyol, who is back in the pits once again.
Yeah, it looked like Moore maybe was going deep to try to avoid him, and because if he wouldn't have gone as deep as he did, even with the lockup, he would have got taken out if he tried to slow down and turn earlier. So that really was the only way for him to not get hit, and then he ended up getting hit anyways.
So, you know, typical Charlotte stuff, I would say. You know, no matter which car you run around here. Gap now down to 9/10 of a second for the lead. You know, it's ping-ponging back and forth between 9/10 and 1 second, but it's safe to say that Juan Rivas has been the form driver in the secondary part of the race, and now he has a fantastic exit, and also Dino Torcello has to manage some lap traffic ahead. It's a teammate of Rivas, and he doesn't catch him in time as Gerardo Rodriguez is in the pits together with Bruno Alcaraz. You know, unless these drivers have a very small fuel tank, you know, restriction, and they have to pit for a mandatory stop, but, you know, because we're seeing a lot of stops right now. Oh, maybe that will be the case. Maybe every once in a while I'm smart, you know, like every once in a while I remember that I, you know, can use my head to do some calculations.
Yeah, of course, we don't have all of the details quite yet. We hope to have that before the next race. But yeah, it does look like that a mandatory pit stop will happen for these cars. So with the fuel restriction, most likely Marco calling that one. So our leader deciding to take that pit stop now. So of course, that does give Juan Rivas a good chance here. He's now going to go out and lead. And if he can get a good outlap.
Oh, he spins! Dino Torcello is around.
Big mistake from what was your leader Dino Torcello. So not sure exactly what happened there, but that's a huge mistake.
So he will leave the pit lane now. There we go. Oof, that's a weird one.
I think what honestly happened there was he had the wheel input into the car when he just slammed on the gas, I think, and it just spun the car around. I think he just tried to jump into the throttle too quickly. So that should give Juan Rivas now a very good opportunity to now leave with the lead, and a good lead at that. So we'll have to see exactly how much it will be, but I think this is now Juan Rivas's race to lose.
You know, sometimes, you know, some drivers like to map the traction control override when they pit, so that they have a better exit from their pit box, you know, to avoid the traction control kicking in when they leave their pit stall. So also that could be, you know, would have been that. In any case, Juan Rivas is in and is out already of the pits. So, and now he has a commanding 7.7 seconds lead over second place. Here comes Aldo Seclen and Miguel Lopez Torres fighting for third place. I think Lopez will get it. So he's into third, but this is going to be a super close battle. Chirinos is in fifth, and let's see who gets sixth place. I guess it's going to be quite easily Mauricio Otero. So a big mistake there for Dino in the pit cycle. Not the same for Juan Rivas. He had a fantastically clean pit stop, and he now can basically waltz his way towards the finish, the checkered flag.
Yeah, he can really just kind of lay back and not even have to run as hard as he has to. So he can kind of slow his lap times down, make sure there's no mistakes, just let cars pass him if needed so he doesn't actually have to race them. He can kind of has full control of what he has to do.
Less than 10 minutes away in this race. here at Charlotte.
I love the sound of these cars, though, when you just hear them running through the infield like this, and you just hear how much you have to just feather that throttle throughout this entire infield, then the control you have to have, because if you get on it even just a little bit too much, you're overshooting one of these corners, or you're losing the back end, because there are some dips through there that you don't expect to be there. And then one of the hard parts that people that they seem to forget about is that transition from the infield onto the banking. It's so easy to just have too much throttle there and then end up losing the car coming onto that transition.
And, you know, as someone said many years ago to me, traction control is useful, but doesn't do miracles. So, if you're not gentle with the car, even at the highest setting, you are going to spin, especially if the track is not like a pool table, like in F1, but, you know, a bumpy track like you have in North America most of the time. So absolutely 100% agree with you. As you see, there's been a lap on board with Aldo Seclen of Peru, and he's trying to close in on the Corvette. So Miguel Lopez has been the only driver that has been able to insert himself into the BMW domination, but he has to work hard if he wants to bring home the podium for the newly released car. So last of the running drivers is your fellow countryman Brian. So not a good day for the United States in this series.
Yeah, and that's okay. I will take it. They can just kind of regroup and come back. But the racing we've got to see today has been amazing, though, with some of these battles, and we're continuing to see this one here. Lopez Torres was very just running his line no matter what, not even worrying about Secklin through the entire infield. But Secklin was being very aggressive from the looks of it. He took a line you normally wouldn't see through parts of the infield, and that's just showing that he is not afraid to put that car anywhere it needs to be to make a pass.
It's funnier when Austin is in here. Remember when we did the Pro Lucas Oil Pro Trucks during lockdown, and we had a series with all American drivers and a Canadian driver, and the Canadian driver won every race. What you would say, it's basically, you know, USA discipline, no? And yeah, Austin, I never fail to, you know, tell it to him during the races. But back to this race, because it seems like Aldo has got a fantastic run on the backstretch.
Yeah, he's just looking for that opportunity to make that pass right now, but Lopez Torres is just kind of running his line and just not giving him anything. Secklin can kind of get close, but then all of a sudden just isn't able to make that pass. So it's just really Torres is doing a great job right now of holding that spot.
A bit smoother there on the chicane was Lopez Torres, but in the infield section seems like the BMW is behaving a bit more predictably. Oh, that was too close for comfort.
Yeah, that's what we talked about that infield. I know I sound like a broken record, and I say this a lot, but when we just talk about the infield here, it's not. Oh,
I need the wall. Does he have damage on the front right?
I think he just barely touched it. I don't think it was too bad, but we talked about that infield, and that, just as I was saying it can be tricky. It's very underrated for the ability it takes to drive the infield here at the Charlotte Roval, because it is not your typical track, which makes it even more difficult for some drivers because they're not used to being on anything even remotely like this.
And so a little bit of breathing room for Miguel Lopez Torres, but you are absolutely right, Aldo seems to be okay. That was a big wake-up call for him. In the meantime, Martinez and Paes are going at it. Paes is our biggest mover of the race. 12 places gained for the driver from Colombia. Nice job. And that's a very, very good race for him, starting, I remember, basically all the way from the back, and now, of course, looking for more. But back to the fight for third place. In the meantime, you see there on the left side of your screen the gap between P1 and P2 hovering around the 9.5 seconds mark. So with just a handful of minutes to go, as I think Seklen goes on another little brush to the wall there, Juan Rivas can easily bring home, easily so to speak, of course it's never easy, bring home the W. But this is where the fight is set for the final step of the podium. Torres and Seklen, they are fighting the Corvette versus the BMW, of course. As we were saying, for the majority of the race, the BMW is the car to beat today. I guess it's because the Corvette, I mean, the BMW is not famous for its, drivability, no? But I think the Corvette is a bit too understeery for, snaking infield like this. And here we go with the move on the inside. They make contact, and the pass from Aldo Seklen with a little bit of shoulder there. Great move, and now it's a BMW lockout once again on the podium.
Yeah, and I think that just came down to he finally was able to get there, and he did not want to wait any longer, because we saw what happened last time he ended up waiting. He ended up making a mistake and hitting that wall. So he got a great run out of the chicane and was just able to really put it in there right here. And you see he's looking for it the whole way. He tries to brake late. He taps that curb and it just kicks him out just that little bit. But he was fully committed to making that pass there.
It was a beautiful move, but of course I don't think that Miguel Lopez will be too happy about it. So maybe I think he still has a chance to retaliate, but of course Seklen seems to be the faster driver. In the meantime, I guess we are on the final lap, because we have 30 seconds left in the race, and Juan Rivas has yet to go to the middle portion of this lap. Therefore, white flag is in the air, and as I like to say, Sala Blanca, as Javier Paes goes past Juan Martinez, who lodges himself into the wall there. Oh, that is so unlucky.
Yeah, that is not what you wanted to see, especially on the last lap of the race, because now he's just going to lose so many positions. Actually, it ends up most likely only being 2 positions from the look of it, but definitely not what he wanted when he could have finished higher. But a good race here for Juan Rivas Brea of being able to finish this thing out.
Juan Rivas wins at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Dino Torcello will bring home second place, and the final fight for the final podium spot is not over just yet. Aldo Seklen, Miguel Lopez Torres. Seems like Seklen has a good run coming out of the penultimate chicane and creates that little bit of a gap to be safe. Will there be a mega lunge at the end? There will not be. Seklen finishes third. Lopez Torres is in fourth. Now we're waiting for Ignacio Chirinos in fifth place. Sixth will be Mauricio Otero. And Bruno Alcaraz is already crossed the start finish line. So let's check in with our leader. And hopefully he gives us a bit of a smoke show, you know? Some donuts.
Yeah, overall, I'd say that was a really good race, especially an opening round race for the league, because it really gets the drivers really acquainted with one another. And Charlotte's a very difficult track, and to be able to have that the first track out of the gate, that's definitely intense. And it kind of, if there's going to be a track where you're going to be close quarters with guys, it's going to be this one. So great job to all of these guys for putting on what they have. I'm sure some of these guys will want to rebound for the next one, but and definitely I'm going to say Dino Torcello is definitely going to be looking for a rebound next race.
Absolutely. That's going to be the first thing that he has on his mind, because I think you know, it was not decided yet who was going to win the race between himself and Juan. So basically, we were robbed of a great fight to the finish because the two guys, you know, Dino was quicker in the first half of the race, Juan was quicker in the second half of the race. So I really wanted to see after the pit stop who was going to be on top and who was going to be, you know, ahead come the end of the race. We were robbed of that fight, but I think this will give Dino even more fuel to go and try to get the victory next time around. So, without any further ado, let's go with the final race results from Charlotte Motor Speedway, the SKR Racing League, live on Apex Racing TV. Winner was Juan Rivas Brea for Skulls and Dragons, followed by Dino Torcello, Aldo Seclen, Miguel Lopez Torres, Ignacio Chirinos, Mauricio Otero, Bruno Alcaraz, Arisejas El Manati in 8th place, Maximiliano Moore in 9th, Daniel Primera, good comeback for him. He will finish 7 places in front of his starting position, so that's a good gain for him. Then we have Javier Paez, Juan Martinez, Julio Del Carpio, Gerardo Rodriguez, Freddy Yempen, only 15 for him. Too bad because he had a fantastic race. Adolfo Macker, who has the American flag but is from the Peru Racers, so another guy to put into the Peruvian contingent. In front of Christian Vizcarra, Juan Puyo, both teammates for Virtual Racing Peru. Then we have Andre Petit, Rafael Benavides, and Rafael Ortiz for the 787 Sandwiches Racing Team Puerto Rico. That's the best team name I think I've ever read on an iRacing timing page, but that is besides the point. So, first round of the season is in the books, and I would say that we just have a I mean, no, of course we cannot have interviews, unfortunately, because we are not on Discord, unfortunately, so we apologize for this. We are having technical difficulties on our Discord server, and so unfortunately we cannot take any interviews today. So, Brian, I will leave you with the closing thoughts from Charlotte.
I mean, what a race we got to see today. Just such an amazing race. We got to see a lot of these guys really for the first time and be able to attack a track that's not always the easiest to do. It's very underrated. We saw big issues there from Dino Torcello, and especially coming out of pit road with losing the car, and that honestly most likely cost him this race. We don't know because Juan Rivas was coming so quickly. So big mistake there, really gave us a anticlimactic finish kind of, but Dino's definitely going to want to bounce back, and I think that's going to be a big, exciting thing to see of him trying to really claw his way into a first place finish. So, but a great one for Ron Rivas and Aldo to make that move to get into third place also. So overall, I think it was a very good race, and I cannot wait for round 2 coming up next week.
Absolutely. So thanks a lot for watching the race with us. It has been an absolute pleasure. Hopefully we'll get the interviews going on next week. Apologies again, Discord server not collaborating with us tonight, so we are on a backup server which is on another platform, unfortunately. We'll try to sort this out. We will surely, so it was like a unique occurrence. But thanks a lot. Thank you for watching the SKR Racing League. Of course, the action never stops on Apex Racing TV. Don't forget we have some upcoming races. For example, at 10:30 GMT, so just in a few hours, AOSC Super Series from Phillip Island. That is absolutely not to miss. Then we have the Track Racer iRacing League. That is going to be on the 17th of October at 8:45 GMT. Then, of course, the Rallycross World Championship Team Stream at 6:15 GMT. And, of course, the big one, not because I'm doing it, of course, it's going to be on the 18th on the 17th still at 22 GMT. the iRacing Formula 3.5 challenge from Suzuka. So from for Brand Elf, I've been Marco Barbanera. Thank you for watching us, and as per usual, and I haven't said this in a while, I wish you good night and happy racing.